we don't need roads.
Kristen, Pablo, so good to see both of you. Thank you for taking the time and fit me into your schedule. And Kristen, you and I have been talking since the very first Twilight, and I've never seen anything like this performance before. So thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm going to jump into this. Kristen, I'm actually going to start with you. I was wondering if you could imagine, as weird as it might be, sitting in a theater with Princess Diana and watching Spencer. And when the movie's over, leaning over and asking her, what did you think of this part? What is the aspect of your performance or of the film that you would love to get to know her thoughts on?
That's a good place to start. It's pretty intense. I saw this, somebody tagged me in a picture on Instagram that somebody doctored, where it was her and I sitting at a table together, like at what looks like a large event, like it could be the Met Ball. And we're both kind of, we both have like freshly bleached hair, and we're kind of leaning into each other and looking off. That fantasy for me is just too, I think I saved it and I think I look at it often.
Do you really?
Yeah, I just think not only do I think it's kind of funny, it like makes me giggle, I also genuinely am kind of moved by it, and like in a kind of embarrassing way. But I think that it might be evident in watching the movie. I would love for this person to have had a best friend when she really needed it. And there are people that were close to her, but there was just a very sort of strikingly clear isolation that was the problem. And I think ironically, it's kind of what pushed her into being somebody who connected with the public so much. Would she necessarily have to develop her skills of connection and empathy? And it is a skill. You have to sort of focus on that, like, you know, empathy and connection. You have to sort of nurture it and cultivate it. Would she have needed to do that so much had she actually just had a more well-rounded sort of home life, something that felt more normal? I think that what kind of encouraged her to be this olive branch to the public, this thing is what she needed, actually was very reciprocal. She needed what she was offering. So I would say if I could just sit with her and gossip and be friends with her and give her an ear and laugh with her, I mean, obviously I would like to know what she thought of the film. Luckily, the movie doesn't cover any details that kind of would be able to cross-reference. So I would say, like, did you like our poem? Because we love you. You know what I mean? Like, that would be it.
Sure, it's fascinating. Pablo, whenever we see a film like Spencer, or we watch The Queen or The Crown, the cliche question that we always ask ourselves is, what would the royal family think of this? So I'm genuinely curious, from a filmmaker's perspective, how much do you honestly think the royal family is aware of their representation within pop culture, within film and television?
Look, the royal family is very discreet. It's very hard to know that. And I would guess that some of them do see certain things out of curiosity. I guess so, but I have no idea. There's no way to know it, really. So I don't put myself in that fantasy, but I would, I'm like you, I would love to know, but I have no idea.
You know, Kristen, one of the things that I genuinely most love about this movie is that it specifically focuses on about a 3-day period of Diana's life. If someone were going to make a movie about a 3-day period of your life, what is a 3-day stretch that would make for the best film?
Oh God, none of them. I think the 3-day. Gosh, I'm gonna waste all of your time just sort of like looking at the ceiling, trying to think of a relevant 3 days.
No, I can move on to that. I was trying to throw some stuff at you. I know you did a ton of press. I was trying to throw some stuff you hadn't heard 10,000 times before.
I know, and it was a good question. I'm too self-effacing to actually, that'd be funny with that. I'm like, okay, I'm not important enough.
But the whole point is that you don't decide that. Someone has to decide it for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And go and make a movie about whatever, whoever, any of us, 3 days. That's. So
we'll frame it as a junket interview, and then we'll do like the Slumdog Millionaire thing, where every question I ask would just flash back to a different life moment. And we'll go over that. Kristen, I'm going to wrap up with this. You know, not long after you were cast in this role, people started making comparisons between yourself and Princess Diana, mostly focusing on this idea that both of you were sort of thrust into this level of exposure and sort of unfair personal scrutiny from the press that you never really asked for. So I was curious, on some levels, do you feel like you can relate to at least some of the experiences that she went through?
I mean, the movie definitely like leans into the idea that women are treated differently in the media than their male counterparts. And the movie definitely like intimately looks at that and articulates it at some point. It's like she says, you know, they're not following you, they're following me. And I would say that my interaction with the public at large has always been something that I had control over, that I sort of was moving towards because I like to make movies and I like to have conversations about movies and our, you know, lives here on Earth with each other. I'm honestly not running from anything. The reason those lenses are there are so different. It seems like the most obvious parallel, but just could not be further, just couldn't have more distance in terms of actual interior experience. I don't feel like stolen from it in any way. If anything, I feel like I'm so lucky to be able to be so generous with like, you know, who I am.
Well, you're definitely generous with this interview. Pablo, it's an honor to meet you, sir. And Kristen, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. And like I said, first time we spoke was the very first Twilight film, and you've been nothing but kind to me for a very long time. So I appreciate both of your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you very much.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.